Hello and welcome to the World Bank Group headquarters in Washington, D.C. I'm Srimati Sridhar. For the next half hour, I'll be bringing you up to date with all the latest discussions taking place at the World Bank Group and IMF spring meetings on reshaping development for a new era. So stay right here in the zone. But don't just watch, you can also join the conversation using the hashtag #ReshapingDevelopment. Let's focus in on that new era now. It's one in which the world faces an onslaught of crises and multiple challenges, from climate change to surging debt, inflation, conflict, and food insecurity. As the World Bank pivots to help countries address these challenges, one term you'll likely hear this week is global public goods. Let's take a closer look at what they are and why we should care.
So, what exactly are global public goods? Simply, it's something that's available to everyone in the world, like clean air. But it's more than that. Let's break it down. Public goods are defined as commodities and services that are non-excludable. That just means they benefit all of us. They are also non-rivalrous. They can be used over and over again without running out. Public goods enjoyed close to home, like access to fresh drinking water, education, or infrastructure like roads and bridges, are a critical factor in country-based development projects. It's equally critical to address challenges that cross international borders. The most pressing of these include climate change, pandemics, and those associated with fragility, conflict, and violence. So, the World Bank Group is reimagining how to tackle these crises, urging the global community to recognize a shared obligation and commitment. The bank's Climate Action Plan aims to boost, in a big way, projects that help people adapt to the challenges posed by climate change. And projects that encourage reducing the use of coal, for example, mean less air pollution for everyone. The bank is also injecting a surge of financing into health systems around the world to help people prepare for the next major outbreak, protecting people's health so they can pursue opportunities. As the COVID-19 global pandemic made clear, the world needs international coordination now more than ever. By safeguarding the things that we will all benefit from, the World Bank can play a critical role to help navigate new and ongoing global crises and reshape development for a new era.
In a short while, we'll be hearing more about the World Bank's work in these areas and the evolution process. So stand by for the World Bank's Senior Managing Director, Axel van Trotsenburg, and our Managing Director of Operations, Anna Beerde, in conversation. But before that, let's hone in on one really important global public good: climate.
Yo me siento más competitiva, ofrezco mi producto, ven que es de buena calidad y puedo competir. Yo me dedico a lo que es la agricultura, mis abuelos eran agricultores.
La calidad de vida que ha mejorado bastante con nuestros productores. Yo me dedico a la crianza de abejas, que es la apicultura.
Que para nosotros no hay un feriado, no hay un fin de año, no hay un domingo. Yo me dedico a la producción de leche.
Antes yo trabajaba afuera, la tierra, con el sol, muchas veces con la lluvia, con el frío, muchas veces tenía bajones económicos con la producción de tierra.
Hacíamos ese tipo de bebederos en cemento que no duraban mucho tiempo. Aquí en el altiplano la helada es lo que le hace empezar a deshacerse. Los de quema y empieza a deshacerse el cemento.
Al principio no llegamos ni a una tonelada de miel. Entonces, con el pasar de los años, el apoyo de las instituciones, pudimos desarrollar capacidades y ampliar nuestra producción. Las capacitaciones han sido muy útiles para la economía de los productores, ¿no? En el manejo de las colmenas, en el manejo de la floración, incluso en la comercialización y en hacer planes de negocio hacia adelante, ¿no?
El cultivo hidropónico es importante porque es una nueva forma de agricultura para mí. Con este proceso todo el año yo puedo producir lechuga. Es un proceso sostenible.
Antes del proyecto yo producía, por ejemplo, unos 80, 90 litros día, puedo decir. Y actualmente ya eso ha incrementado por lo menos un 20 a 30%.
Mi sueño es ser la mayor productora de lechuga hidropónica Cochabamba. Sí, sé que lo voy a lograr.
In a short while, we'll be hearing more about the World Bank's work in these areas and the evolution process. Stand by for the World Bank's Senior Managing Director, Axel van Trotzenberg, and our Managing Director of Operations, Anna Beerde, in conversation. But now, the Maldives stands out as particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change due to its low elevation and reliance on tourism and fishing. To explore the challenges this country faces, as well as the work that's been done to meet them, I'm delighted to be joined by Aminat Shauna, Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Technology in the Maldives. Minister, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Minister, the Maldives is one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to climate change. What are some of the challenges that you see for the country, but also for other small island developing states?
The Maldives is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. When people often think about the Maldives, they think about the beautiful beaches, the holiday destination, and going their honeymoon. But for me, this is where I grew up. This is where I live. Climate change is an everyday reality for us now. It has affected every aspect of life for us. We are one of the lowest lying nations in the world as well. Most of our islands are just about 1 meter above sea level, which makes us extremely vulnerable to any amount of sea level rise. What has happened over the years is global temperatures are increasing, and at 1.1 degree of warming, we are seeing significant impacts on our coral reefs, which is our source of food, income, and protection. Every island in the Maldives has run out of fresh drinking water because of saltwater intrusion. We are continuing to see increased flooding, changes in rainwater patterns. It's having an impact on our fisheries and tourism as well. So it's an existential it's an existential problem for us.
So tell me about some of the key actions that the Maldives is taking to become more climate resilient, and do you think scaling up renewable energy is part of that strategy?
Absolutely. For us, investing in renewable energy in mitigation sector is also part of adaptation. We spend about 10% of our GDP on importing fossil fuels. For us to be able to, as quickly as possible, transition to an economy that is fueled by sunshine is a no-brainer for us, which saves us money, which gives us more fiscal space to be able to continue to invest in our adaptation. We're also increasingly investing in providing fresh water resources to our island communities. But we're also doing a lot on conservation as well. We have already protected 13% of our coral reef area, and we are on target to be able to protect 30 by 30, which is the goal under the CBD convention. And we're also, with the support of the bank, we're also investing in waste management, because that is our number one environmental problem that we face at a national level.
Sure.
So for us to invest in nature positive investments and also renewables and waste management, together really is a way forward for us to become more resilient in the face of increased climate impacts.
Now, Minister, I know that the Maldives has partnered with the World Bank on 2 renewable energy projects. Can you tell me more about those? How have they helped the country become more economically resilient, but how has it also boosted its human capital?
Well, we announced to become a carbon neutral country in 2009 by 2020, but for various other reasons we were not able to meet that target. But now we are on to reach net zero by 2030. And the journey that we began 10 years ago with the bank has significantly improved our ability to be able to invest in renewable energy, especially to be able to attract private sector partners to invest in the Maldives. As you know, the Maldives is a small island nation. Often it's overlooked on how profitable investing in such small economies and markets could be, but with the way the program was structured with the World Bank support, it has attracted private sector because the program was structured in a way to provide de-risking facility for the private sector. So it's been a really good journey with the bank to be able to have access to this finance, but also to structure it in a way to attract private sector partners for us. And like I said, 10% of our GDP is on imported fossil fuel. And today, in a span of 10 years, we have invested in 13% of our peak demand is coming from renewable sources. And we wish to continue to invest in this, such as investing in ocean resources. We have a huge ocean. 99% of our country is ocean. So to be able to utilize new technology and emerging technology to be able to scale up is something that I look forward to.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to hear that the partnership has been successful so far. And finally, Minister, I would love to hear what your advice might be for other developing countries who are looking to become more climate resilient.
I think one of the most important ways is to take the first step of making a decision on doing this. Secondly, small does not necessarily mean that we should be kept away from these talks, these big discussions. We have been able to prove that despite the size of our country, despite the size of our market, we are able to attract private sector investments. And we've done this in different phases. First was the development of the policies requirements, and then the legislative framework, then finding the finance for it. So in a matter of 10 years, now the scene is set for investments to flow into the country.
Well, Minister, we really appreciate you coming on here and telling us more about what the Maldives is doing to become more climate resilient. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Now, as we've been discussing, global public goods help address challenges that do not respect borders. Fragility, conflict, and violence is one such challenge. FCV-affected countries are the most vulnerable to extreme poverty, climate change, food insecurity, and forced displacement of people. Let's get a little insight into the issue of forced displacement and social cohesion now from my colleague, Paula Rosiasco.
Hello. Did you know that there are over 100 million displaced people around the world today? Forced displacement caused by political, economic, and environmental crises has dramatically increased. This trend can have profound impacts on social cohesion between and among forcibly displaced people and their host communities, which we must address to create development opportunities for all. The findings from a recent report from the World Bank and partners show that inclusive policy responses and development investments can effectively mitigate short-term negative effects of displacement and promote social cohesion. Take Peru, for example. There are an estimated 7.2 million Venezuelan migrants worldwide. 1.5 million now live in Peru, creating a 4% population increase. Many will expect that such an increase in population will bring unemployment, crime, lack of access to services, and sour relationships between migrants and locals. But evidence shows otherwise. As part of our report, researchers found that Venezuelan immigrants help create better labor market outcomes for Peruvians, increasing the probability of Peruvians being employed by 0.6%, increasing household income by 2.2%, and increasing expenditures by 1.4%. At the same time, reported crime did not increase, there was an improvement in the quality of local services, and there was even greater trust among neighbors. It turns out having contact between citizens and migrants may be crucial. In Colombia, they found that Colombians who have more social contact with Venezuelan migrants tend to favor more inclusive policies, such as unrestricted access to employment and family reunification. So, how does the World Bank use these findings in its work? By helping host governments see the real impacts of migration and the benefits of promoting social cohesion. This includes the design of programs for the integration of migrants and refugees that have been approved in Latin America for over $3 billion. One of these projects is the Social and Economic Inclusion of Venezuelan Migrants Development Policy Loan, which supports a package of evidence-based policy reforms approved by the government of Colombia, such as the temporary protection status that regularizes migrants for 10 years. That is just one way the World Bank is working to promote people on the move and those who host them, to promote social sustainability and enable people to thrive.
Thank you so much, Paula. Now, we've looked at elements of two big global challenges, so let's explore how the World Bank is evolving to tackle the latest issues in development. Yesterday afternoon, Raj Kumar, president and editor-in-chief of DevEx, a social enterprise and media platform for the global development community, caught up with two of my colleagues to discuss the bank's evolution process.
Well, hello everyone, I'm Raj Kumar, President and Editor-in-Chief of DevEx, here at the World Bank and IMF Spring Meetings. This is a very busy week for everyone involved, but especially for the two people sitting next to me. So thank you for taking some time. We have Axel van Trotsenberg, who is of course the Senior Managing Director at the World Bank, and Ana Bierde, who is the new Managing Director for Operations. You're two of the top leaders at the bank at a pretty exciting, consequential moment. And these spring meetings display that. There are so many people interested in what's going to happen at the World Bank. What are these reforms? What's the shift in leadership all about? So Axel, maybe I'll start with you because you've been here a long time. You've seen it all in a sense. How different is this series of reforms, this movement, this change in leadership?
Well, I think it's a big deal. I think we have been scaling up enormously our ambition during the last 3 years and delivered. And what we are seeing is that we are badly off track with regard to SDGs. Climate is off track. You see increased fragility, more conflict. So there is an enormous agenda out there, and people are concerned that we are not undertaking collectively the investments that we need to do. And therefore, I think everybody needs to think how you can do better, more, and raise the ambition, because otherwise these 2030 goals remain elusive. And that means that also the bank, having shown that we have the ability to lift our game significantly, how can we do more? And so we want to engage our shareholders, but also civil society, to see how we can strengthen that coalition in the interest for developing countries, and then ultimately translate this into a very ambitious work program.
So we heard, Anna, from Axel here, the word ambition a few times, right? And that seems to be the cultural shift that may be happening at the bank, this idea that we are going to be much more ambitious. It's almost a strange circumstance where you now have the shareholders, in a way, saying, take more risk than the bank itself. Usually it's the opposite, right?
Well, I think what Axel described is exactly right. We're living through incredibly unprecedented times, and for the last 3 years, the countries that we work for, our clients, have had enormous challenges. So during COVID, of course, we stepped up. We were there, we were responsive, we increased our support, both financing, but also knowledge, technical assistance. And then we had a little bit of calm, and then we started seeing an increase in energy, increase in inflation, and then of course, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has had huge regional and global spillovers, has put a lot of development gains back even further. So now 3 years essentially of instability, surprises, crisis, has been really, really difficult. So we've stepped up, and so we have so many issues to deal with. It means that we need to continue to do more. And to be able to continue to be more, we need to be more ambitious at every level. We need to be more ambitious with our business model, which is what I'm going to focus on. And we need to be able to have more resources for our clients.
Axel, you're co-chairing this evolution roadmap, as it's called, this reform agenda. And there's a tension between bringing in new capital, asking the shareholding countries to contribute more paid-in capital, and this idea that there's an opportunity to do some kind of financial engineering to increase the risk perhaps on the balance sheet, or to just take existing things like guarantees and do more with them. Where do you fall in that tension?
There's always an importance that we try to optimize the internal resources. And I think the most spectacular balance sheet optimization was done in IDA, that we actually developed the possibility of IDA going to capital markets and FAAA, and through this increase our support program to these countries by over 50% when we introduced it, and now we are almost 90% above that level pre. So this is very good progress. I think also, trust me, that also at the capital increase in 2018, we did a lot of balance sheet optimization, but there are always also things that you can do as well. What I think the bottom line is what Anna just said is, when you look at the challenges in the countries and the global challenges, then the investments needs are enormous. If you say, look, I want a couple of $1 billion more, you will find somewhere a couple of billions. But what you need is a sea change if we want to make a difference. And then you will need to invest. If you believe that actually multilateral organizations can make a difference, and we passionately believe that the World Bank can make that difference, then you need to invest. And there are two things before that. It is not only looking at the IBRD, okay, that you do a capital increase. That in fact involves actually very little capital for the shareholders. But what we need more also is real taxpayers' money for the poorest countries. And there, yes, that is where we will continue to push all the membership, because that solidarity with the poorest countries is more needed than ever.
Now, you, Anna, soon will have a new boss in this building, right? Ajay Banga almost certainly has the job. He's the only nominee. When he comes, of course, he's going to be out there trying to get more money for the institution. There'll be the IDA capital raise and other funds he's looking for. But a lot of the critique of the bank in this moment is the bank moves slow. What's required to not just have the financial engineering and the new money, but the speed and agility for this moment?
So I think we certainly have experiences where we have moved very, very fast. And if you look at some of the responses we do when there's a crisis, we move very fast. I mean, just as an example, the pandemic package we put together, we moved very fast, both in terms of the preparation and the actual resource flow. So dispersed and really delivered results. The second one I was involved very recently with was, of course, the World Bank's very significant response to Ukraine. 11 days after the invasion started, we were at the board with a $730 million package. So we can certainly move fast. And I think what we see is that there are, and we're moving fast, by the way, without any sort of, shortcutting on our procedures, because I think what's very important with the World Bank is that we have very robust procedures when it comes to environmental and social assessments, when it comes to fiduciary assessments. And these are important for development because you need transparency and accountability in development. So I actually think we can uphold the standards of the World Bank, which are so important, and we can move fast. So what I will be looking for us to do is to continue the high quality of our program, both our lending and our portfolio, but to be incredibly responsive, because this is a very difficult time for all of our clients around the world, and we need to continue to be there for them. And that's really what I'm going to focus on. Speed, yes. Quality, yes. And making sure that our portfolio is absolutely relevant for the issues that they're facing.
Well, thank you for taking some time to have this
Thank you.
conversation. We'll continue covering this incredible session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you to Raj, Axel, and Anna for a fascinating discussion. If that's left you wanting more, you can see the full-length interview on our social channels. And now, speaking of social channels, I'm here with Gregory Felder from the IFC. Greg, thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having me.
So I know you've been busy monitoring the conversation on our social channels. Tell me, what stood out for you?
Yeah, so all week I'll be following the conversation on social media, and it's buzzing right now. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we're using the hashtag Reshaping Development, so you can use that hashtag to join the discussion. And I see comments actually coming in now from all over the world. I want to shout a few out if we have
please.
time. So I see India, China, shout out to India and China. Thanks for spending your evening with us. Nigeria, Brazil, hello from Turkey, Spain. I see hello from Pakistan, right here in the US and the UK.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I see also that some of the comments have focused mainly on talking about climate, debt, economic growth. Have any of the comments in particular stood out for you?
Yeah, there were a couple that I wanted to highlight and read out.
Okay.
Let's start with LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, we have Olancits Wolde. Thank you, Olancits. And he writes, climate change is a real threat to humanity, and we need a concerted effort to mitigate its impacts. But that can only be done by addressing poverty, and we need to focus on unemployment, trade, debt, and good governance, which I think are all topics we'll hear throughout the week.
It's a great comment.
There's one more if I have time
please.
from Twitter. So on Twitter, we have Yareed Abera. Yareed is a youth climate leader, so shout out to the youth. We want to hear youth voices throughout the week so young people continue to comment. And Yareed tweets, I am worried about my future. As the climate and debt crisis paused my country's growth and development, it is important to talk about IFI reforms, but I want to see a reform which will not leave behind poor countries and citizens. So wow, a powerful comment from our young leader. Thank you, Yared.
Yeah, climate really front and center on people's minds.
Absolutely.
Now, Greg, I suppose it wouldn't be a real spring meetings if we didn't have a poll.
Of course,
right?
of course, yeah. No, we have to roll out the polls. So if you're on our social channels now, we have a poll on all of our channels. You can check it out. And we're asking the question, what topics matter to you the most during these spring meetings? So is it national debt? Maybe it's climate change, like we've heard a lot today, trade and supply chains, or maybe health and education. So like I said, you can go to our social media channels now, cast your vote. Please remember, use the hashtag Reshaping Development, and that'll help you join the conversation. You can tell us if you're watching from home, maybe you're watching online at work, in the office, or maybe you're right here in DC, and if you are, come stop by The Zone and check us out.
Yeah, definitely engage with us. Thank you, Greg.
No, thank you.
And thank you for watching, but don't zone out. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. There's also our public meetings taking place throughout the week, looking at a wide range of issues as we reshape development for a new era. Last but not least, don't forget to dive into our social channels for more great conversations, interviews, and videos. I'm Srimati Sridhar. You've been watching The Zone. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you back tomorrow.